where he cannot stand losing one more dollar. And that one more dollar, in essence, is when the pain of losing one more dollar is 1 degree greater than the pain of admitting that he's wrong. In other words, when this pain is greater than that pain by 1 degree, he'll get out of the trade. That's when he'll admit that it's a losing trade and get out. You guys with me on this? Now, he would say that the market did this to him. But what I'm saying is that is blatantly not the case. His fear did that to him. He created the very experience he was trying to avoid. He was trying to avoid being wrong, and he made himself wrong. And ultimately, this is always the spot where the market, where the market does that anyway. You guys with me on this? Okay, now, this trader gets out of this trade right here. He looks back at this chart pattern, and why didn't I just go short? Why didn't I just go short? The ability to recognize this as a downtrend, or let's say he was blinded from his ability to recognize this as a downtrend. The distinction existed inside of his mind. In other words, he can actually make the distinction of what a downtrend is. But in that moment, while he was in that trade, he was blinded to his own distinctions. Because he was operating out of a trade-by-trade mentality. He was operating out of a trade-by-trade mentality. This trade took on the significance of life or death, just like any other trade that he puts on does. And to be a consistently successful trader, it ain't going to happen if you think that way. The pros don't think that way. Determine your risk. It either works or it doesn't, and go to the next trade. Determine your risk. It works or it doesn't, go to the next trade. That's all it is. That's the whole game. Now, let's say that this doesn't happen, but this happens. Let's say instead of it going against him, that the market does this. Now what ticks do you think he's going to be focused on, the up or the down ticks? The market's doing exactly what he wants, by the way. Now the market is doing exactly what he wants. And what ticks do you think he's going to be focused on? The down ticks. And why the down ticks? Because he's been in too many times of trades where the market has taken away his profits. And so he places an inordinate amount of significance on every down tick, and in essence ends up doing what? Leaving money on the table. So what he does is, let's say he gets out right here, so he cuts his profit shorts and lets his losses run. In Chicago vernacular, this is called shitting like an elephant and eating like a bird. What's that? Now, if this trader had a belief in a random outcome, that he didn't have to know what was going to happen next to make money, would he have these problems? What would he be expecting if he had a belief in a random outcome? That there was just a random distribution between wins and losses on any given set of variables that defined his edge. If he believed that, if he believed that it only took one trader somewhere in the world to negate the positive outcome of his edge, if he believed that no matter what reason he thinks he has for putting on that trade, that the reason why it works or it doesn't work will almost never correlate to the actual reason that he conjured up. If he believed all these things, how would he be handling this? Come on, how would he be handling it? Tell me.
Well, he would have a plan, or in my words, I like to use the word strategy.
Okay.
When he got into the trade, when he got into the trade, he's going to say that, okay, when it reaches this level right here, I'm going to get out. If it goes down to this level down here, I'm going to get out. Now, he may have ended up leaving some money on the table, but at least he's going to be in that percentage that he had already predetermined that's going to create him to be a winning percentage of trades.
Would he have be saddled with the same emotional problems that he had if he was operating out of a fear of being wrong or losing money?
No, because he didn't have any emotion in the trade. It's saying, hey, it's following my predetermined plan that I have in place.
Right. And it either works or it doesn't, right?
That's right.
Because I trade from a series of trades perspective. I don't know what each individual trade is going to do. This is the way the pros do it, by the way. This is thinking like a pro. You want to make consistent money, this is the way you're going to have to think. Otherwise, you already know what the problems are. Trading will take on a quality of being exasperating because you can see the potential and it seems like you're always just like that close from getting it and you never get there. How we feel, our state of mind in any given situation is always real and the absolute truth. Now, I want you to make a distinction here. At any given moment, we're in a state of mind. State of mind could be any number of things. We have a lot of ways to define states of mind. It could be a state of mind of like satisfaction, dissatisfaction, happiness, joy, fear, terror. These are all states of mind. Confidence is a state of mind. As a state of mind, confidence, when I'm confident, I feel compelled to step into a situation. Compels to thrust me forward into an experience. Of course, if I'm fearful, then what am I doing? I'm pulling back because I feel threatened in some way. I'm perceiving the information that's available in that moment as threatening. But you got to remember, for me to perceive it that way, it means I'm interpreting it that way. Here's where people get real mixed up about this sort of thing. Is that the state of mind that we experience in any given moment is always the absolute truth. You can't deny the fact that if I'm feeling fearful right now, then I'm feeling fearful. That's just the way that it is. I'm in that state of mind. The particular interpretation that got me into that state of mind, however, could be completely dysfunctional. You guys with me on this? The interpretation that comes from what we believe could be completely dysfunctional. You see, as passive technical traders, if we believe that somehow or another our methodology is telling us what's going to happen next on any particular trade, the reason why we're having problems is because that is a dysfunctional belief. It was never true. Now, the states of mind that result from that belief are real. So, for an example, if I put on a trade and it turns out to be a winner, I think that I'm right. And as a result, I feel great. If I put on a trade and I think that I lose, well, then I feel like crap because I was wrong. The reality is neither one was really true. Because when you win, you weren't right. And when you're wrong, you weren't wrong. Because whatever reason you had to put on the trade in the first place, again, had almost no correlation to what actually happened with the market. In other words, why the market did what it did. You just happened to put on a trade at that time that worked. And all technical patterns do, technical indicators, price patterns, is get you into a situation where there's a likelihood that when you get into that trade, it'll work. That's all they were ever represented to be. You understand what I'm saying? That's all they were ever represented to be. I'm not saying they don't get, screwed up somehow in terms of the way people represent them, but that's all that basically they ever were. It's not on a trade-by-trade basis.